What's up, folks? Johnny Lee Reinoso here. In this video, I want to talk about 8 mistakes that salespeople still make with all the information out there. Okay? 8 mistakes that I continue to see that salespeople make in today's environment. And I'm talking about 2020, 2021. This is the environment we're in right now. 8 mistakes that salespeople still make in today's environment. Let's get started.
My name is Johnny Lee Reinoso, and don't admire, acquire.
Point number 1, qualifying late. Qualifying late. And I'm speaking from 2 perspectives here, folks. I'm talking about from my own sales team, okay? I got a sales team that works in 2 companies, in Reinoso companies as well as in C-level partners, okay? And I continue to see, when I analyze and review pipeline with my managers, I continue to see a pipeline that's robust. There are a few people that have this glorious, grandiose pipeline. And as we start to drill down the pipeline, we start to realize that about 20 to 30% are actual buyers and qualified, while the other 70 to even 80%, it's just a bunch of fluff. It's what we call C, S-E-E, see more executives, see more buyers. People that just want to see and understand, people that just like to have, ink on their calendar, activities to attend, meetings to attend, so that they can learn more about certain things. But their intention, all of their intention is not to buy anything, but just to gather and seek. And in some cases, if you're talking B2B, many a times these see more executives are looking to gather all the intelligence from you so that they can self-medicate themselves. We got to be careful. We got to be careful when we're talking about this, right? So we need to identify, are we dealing with the buyer or are we not dealing with the buyer, okay? Stop trying to allow yourself to give you this false narrative that you have this great pipeline when you actually have a solid one, but it actually has buyers and people that qualify. So we qualify too late. We got to learn how to qualify as soon as possible. And how do we do that? By asking the right questions. Many salespeople make this mistake all the time. They don't ask true buying questions. They don't ask time-based questions. The TB there stands for 2 things, true buying questions and time-based questions. We talk about time-based questions. They could be a buyer. They could be could have the DNA makeup of a buyer. They could actually be a qualified buyer in the sense of responsibility, budget, in terms of being able to spend the money towards your product or service. But timing's probably not there. Maybe they need to wait for this pandemic to be over and have complete certainty that there's a vaccine in place and they're not going to buy from you. But it's through qualifying questions that you're going to identify this to know, do I have a buyer here right now or is this deferred for Q1 of 2021? Do I have a buyer right now or do I have to wait 6 months? Do I have a buyer and a leader that's going to make a decision, or do I need to get a consensus approach here? Do they have a culture that requires them to bring in other folks into the picture? And I need to identify this, which now will prolong the selling process, because I could sell the CEO, but now I got to sell the COO, then I got to sell the CFO, then I got to sell the vice president, then I got to sell the director. Oh, and by the way, you got to talk to marketing and procurement. I don't know, folks. You know your product or service, but you have to be true to yourself to know, am I asking the right questions, okay? So this first mistake is many salespeople are not qualifying on time. They're qualifying late. The second one is they're not asking time-based questions. The third one is they bash their competition. Pause for a minute. Are you guilty of that? Are you guilty of actually taking the opportunity when it comes at you, when there's silence during a presentation, to say, you won't find anyone that actually does what we do. In fact, this and that company, they claim to do it, but they suck because of these 14, 10, 3, 2 reasons, or this one, or did this one, did that one. Are you bashing your competition? That's sleazy. That's like you trying to gain trust with a girl, and the way you lead that girl to start to like you more is by making fun of her ex-boyfriend. Who the hell does that and creates a sustainable, loving, nurturing relationship that then leads to maybe marriage? Come on, folks. You can't do that. You can't bash his ex-girlfriend or her ex-boyfriend or his ex-wife or her ex-husband by nitpicking at his looks, at what he does, and what he doesn't do, and expect that now that's going to gain trust with that person. That's not how it works. Have confidence in your game. Stand tall. Be confident. Be competent. Be filled with gratitude. Be filled with empathy. Listen to what they're saying and grow that relationship organically by way of caring for their challenge, and you have a solution for it. Don't bash competition. Shame on you if you're bashing. Congratulations if you're not. Number 4, another mistake that people make is they overpromise. They think that this is the way they're going to capture the attention. I thought people were done overpromising. I just went through this. My wife and I were looking for a car. My wife needed to get a new car. She was in the market. She started, I said to her, sweetie, look, why don't you go online, start looking and seeing what it is that you want to buy, do some research, pull some things together, and then you and I will meet, we'll see what you have, and we'll go out and start exploring the opportunity of buying a car. Well, mind you, she pulls some information. There's some great marketing tactics out there. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. If you lease this or if you buy that, 0% interest and all this good stuff, right? It leads us in. It's an overpromise technique. Sometimes they could deliver on it. Sometimes it's very difficult. But when we called them, because there's a fine print, right, that says certain things. And then when we called them, we had a gentleman actually say, yes, I have the car here. I could get the car. And then he followed with, I have the car. Absolutely. You know what? I'll make sure that the car is ready. When can you come down? So we made the appointment for that week on a Friday, 3 o'clock. I cleared my schedule because I have a very busy schedule. I cleared it up. I made sure to meet my wife there. I get there around 2:45. Look around the lot. I can't see the car. My wife pulls up. I finally find the salesman who we spoke to. I said, excuse me, you said that this car was going to be here. I don't see it. Oh, that's right. I was supposed to call you yesterday to let you know that there actually is a delay in me getting that car from another store. But let me show you these 3 cars because that car now is sold. What kind of BS is that? You know what he's doing. He wanted me to just get in the door so he could try to sell me the same car, different colors, slightly different bells and whistles, assuming that then we're just going to just say, sure, let's go ahead. Maybe there's some folks that actually go with that flow. That's not me. You don't overpromise and underdeliver. That's not what you should do in any business. In any business. You underpromise and overdeliver. You want referrals? Underpromise and overdeliver. You want a long-lasting relationship with that client? Underpromise and overdeliver. You want more work, more opportunities? Underpromise and overdeliver. You need to make sure that you continue to recalculate and re-engineer the pricing of what your client is gaining. What am I trying to say here? If you're charging $1,000 for your product or service, back it up and say, are they getting $1,000 worth? And if they are, shame on you. They should be getting $2,000 worth. Because now you're going to build a lasting relationship that's actually going to go somewhere because they're getting more out of what they're actually paying. If they get more than what they're paying, folks, you're going to have a lasting relationship with that client, with that customer, repeat business, referrals, game on, right? So again, a big mistake, a lot of people overpromise. Another mistake is that we think that we have equity in this relationship called a prospect, and we've gained the right, we've earned the right to argue. You see, in relationships, there could be disagreements because there's what we call relationship equity, time equity, sacrifice equity. We put in the time, we sacrifice together. We saw the good, bad, or the ugly together. We have children together. We bought property together. We traveled together. So in relationships, even in business partnerships, there could be disagreements that what we consider to be healthy disagreements. When you're trying to gain the trust, when you're trying to build a relationship with your prospect, there is no such thing as a disagreement. There is no such thing as an argument. Argue versus empathize. Which one's going to win? Empathizing with your prospect. Your prospect says to you, you know what? I appreciate you sharing this with me, but we're not looking to spend $25,000 on a marketing campaign right now. we really were looking, to budget only $17,500, and because we didn't plan to have this challenge, and now that we're kind of stepped back and we're not on track from where we need to be, we scrambled to gather the $17,500 to invest in this marketing campaign, but to come up with the other, $6,500 or $7,500 to get to that $25,000 is not possible. Many people still in today's market quickly react with, well, I'm sorry, it's what we have to do. It's what we do. This is what we charge. This is because we're the Rolex, okay? We're not the timepiece, okay? We're not a G-Shock. We're a Patek Philippe. This is the way it works. You have to buy this price. If you don't want to deal with it, then too bad. You can't afford to not use my services. Folks, there are so many options out there. The internet has allowed buyers to get so educated, and because there's so much over-promising, they're going to get suckered in, and they might. So you don't want to lose your prospect and the ability to gain revenue just because of your price. Get smart. Start to think about what your cost structure is like. Start to identify opportunities where you can reduce some of your costs so that your margin is still there and you might be able to entertain a 17.5. Maybe they don't revamp all of their marketing, but they just focus on 2 or 3 areas where they'll still get the tremendous ROI from you and from their investment. But you don't argue with them. You don't make them feel like they're stupid for doing what they're doing, or they're stupid for thinking what they're thinking, or they're idiotic for getting in this situation. You need to empathize. Don't argue. You don't have relationship equity. You don't. Only after a long period of time of working with a client and providing a tremendous value, now you can become that trusted advisor that can respectfully, cordially disagree with them by way of a nice discussion that has data-driven activity or data-driven answers to allow them to see why certain things are certain ways. Make sense? Now, point number 6, lead. Don't shove. Lead. Don't shove. If you shove a prospect to the finish line, they're going to fall off. You're not going to be able to shove them to a place of certainty. That's why we always say, and I always train people to say, you need to make sure you first gain credibility before you try to shove pricing, before you try to shove solution, before you try to shove contract. You got to gain one C before you bring the other C into the mix. Credibility over contract. Credibility over commitment. Credibility over calendaring the next meeting. You need credibility. So when we say lead versus shove is when you speak from an authority perspective, when you speak with confidence, when you speak with competency, when you speak from a place of commitment. I've done it. I could do it. We could do it. We have solved. We care about your challenges. We want to see you win. We want you to execute. We want you to have success. We want you to become the company that you so desire. When you speak from that place, now you're leading the person. You're, some people say, persuading them to a place of certainty, certainty in you, certainty in your product. That's what you need to do. Lead, stop shoving. 80-20 rule. Many people say this out there. Many people, many professionals in the game of sales say this. The 80-20 rule, 80% listening, 20% talking. 80% listening, 20% talking. I don't have to explain this anymore. It's very simple. Listen 80% of the time. Talk 20. And of the 20%, 90% of the 20 should be asking questions. 10% should be telling your product or service, explaining how, sharing the benefits. But you got to ask those questions when you're within your 20%, okay? 80% listening, 20%. And last but not least, you have to know your competition. You have to know your competition when you go into the game of selling. Who are you up against? Don't assume that you have an uneducated buyer. Look, sometimes the most uneducated buyer is the most educated one, or the one that you think doesn't know knows. Perfect example. I was introduced to a company by way of referral. These were best friends from college. They went to college together. They were best friends. They were roommates. They graduated. One went off into the consulting business. The other went off to be in the technology. He left working for the man in technology, started his own company, became very successful, brought us in as an external sales team. We helped him grow triple digits, and now he's in the process of selling that for hundreds of millions and becoming extremely, extremely wealthy. Congratulations to this client. He owes a lot to us because of the hard work that we've done. He respects what we do. So because his best friend truly believes in what he's accomplished, his best friend trusts his advice. In fact, he sits on his board. We were referred to him. He's in the consulting business. He wants to expand into new markets. He wants to grow into new industries. He reached out to us. This referral we thought was a slam dunk, right? We made this mistake. We thought it was a slam dunk. This person's legacy and success, which a part of it was because of us, spoke to this person like it's a slam dunk. So when my salesperson went and spoke to this person to introduce our product and services, he went in with such confidence. He didn't bother looking at the competition. He didn't bother recognizing whether, what are we up against? He didn't ask critical questions at the end of his presentation or the ends of the meetings. Like, for instance, when are you looking to make a decision? How important is it for you to make a decision this year or this quarter? Have you given it thoughts around budget? Let me ask you, who else have you spoken to that claims to do and does services like us? Those are questions you want to know. You want to ask those questions. You want them to be, he's going to answer, and you're going to be able to discern whether or not it's fumble and BS or whether or not it's true in reality. Okay, so you got to make sure that you ask those challenging questions. No, this person did not do that. We didn't do that as a company. We assumed this referral was a slam dunk. We went at it. We pretty much spoke very quickly about our value proposition. We listened to what he said. We understood that there was a challenge there, that he needed to grow. We recognized that it was something he's been thinking about for some time. We thought this referral was a slam dunk. We threw a contract his way. Next thing you know, we got told, nah, I'm going to go with your competitor because he's 20% less than you in pricing. We lost the business. Now, do we believe we'll get it back? Yes, we do. Because we'll see based on this, because we know that this competitor, by the way, does number 4. He overpromises all the time. My point is, know your competition and ask. Ask your prospect, have they spent time talking to them? Do they know their options? Have they dealt with? Is this competitive right now? Are we competing? If so, where do we stand? Ask those hard questions. Don't be afraid of asking those hard questions. Folks, 8 mistakes salespeople make: qualifying too late, not asking time-based questions. They bash their competition. They overpromise. You overpromise. You argue versus empathize, understand, humble yourself, and try to grow a relationship. You shove rather than lead. Okay? You shove them to the finish line rather than lead. You talk too much. You have to implement the 80-20 rule, 80% listening, 20% talking. And last but not least, you need to know your competition so you know what you're up against and you know how to close your deals. Folks, thank you for spending time with me. Don't forget to like this video below, comment below. We're getting our subscriptions up. I appreciate your love, and share this with those who you believe will benefit from this content. Thank you so much.